Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest Tam Luc. She is a #1 international best-selling author and founder of Women with Vision International, who shares the triumphs, stress, and struggles of balancing her life to help women grow their business. After 20 years as a business entrepreneur, she helps women leverage their message and create the lifestyle they want through her own unique book messaging strategies. Check out her new book series, Women Who Boss Up: Strategies of Successful Women Who Have Leveled Up in Life, Health, and Business, available now on Amazon. All right. Welcome to the show, Tam.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So this show is based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And this year we were hit with every situation globally. Yes. And so I'd love to hear maybe if you have something to share with the audience about a time in your life where you had to overcome a tough situation in your business or personal life and how you got back on track.
Oh gosh, yes. Well, back in 2000, well, first of all, let me just go a little bit further back to give you some context. My parents were entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. They were successful entrepreneurs in the 80s and 90s. And I watched them growing up. And I was very impressed by what they were able to do. 2 Black people from the Midwest. They did not have a college degree. And I was like, wow, they did it together. So I always wanted that in my life, although I went to college and I went to school for marketing. Marketing led me into corporate America. But the whole time I was side hustling. I was trying to start my business. I was trying to get it going. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Why was my parents able to do this and didn't have a degree? Like, it was just a mess, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, one of the many things that I tried in early 2000s was I dabbled in real estate. I was working in corporate real estate. My parents were, they were doing home improvement. That's the business they were in. And so I started, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm going to buy, sell. I'm going to buy and hold. I'm going to do all these things. And I started doing a lot of real estate stuff, started making money. I went from 0 to 250,000 very short. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. I'm going to do so much. I bought 5 different properties. Yeah. And then the economy changed drastically in 2006, 7, and 8. And I would have been able to handle it and stay in if I had a mentor, if I had understood an exit strategy, if I had learned how to pivot, all things I didn't know at the time, right? All I knew was how to get in, how to make the money, didn't know anything about the other side. And so I slowly started to lose faith in myself. I started to lose, like, all the things that I used to have was just this, people say, oh man, you are like an explorer, an adventurer. You could do these things. You could create things out of nothing. And I was just doing all of it. But somehow I lost it, or felt like I lost it, and went all the way down to lost my husband, he was trying to take my son away. I was sleeping on someone's couch. I was in my head. I lost my job. It was like, oh man, it was bad. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to get out of that funk. I was in that funk because I really cared about what people said. I really cared about how I looked. I really cared about titles and things and accomplishments. And I had lost all of it. And, oh man, took me a minute to get there. Now, when I talk about right now, 2020, so I've regained my strength, started working on myself, doing the personal development, got back out of the hole, started up a business again, started doing well, my coaching business now. And 2020 hit. I had all these plans for 2020. COVID hit. All of a sudden, I felt that same angst that happened back in 2008. And the difference was I had learned something from that situation. And I pivoted on a dime, right? I pivoted quickly. And my business has done pretty well this year, actually. So that's one of the biggest stories.
Wow. Yes. That's an incredible story. That is. And something, I think that if you talk to any successful entrepreneur, they have at least one of those really good stories about a rock bottom they hit in business and how they got back on track. And it somehow gives you the strength and fortitude, the knowingness,
It
let's
does.
say, to know I got this. 2020 hits, you're like, I got this.
Yeah, you have to learn it. You have to kind of learn. There's some little things that actually makes you a success in entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurs are really a little crazy. Like, who would leave a good paying job or a 40-hour work week or a consistent paycheck to go work 80 hours in their own business and try to create something out of nothing? Who would do that unless you were just a little nuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are little things like that. Learning how to pivot is a really key thing that sometimes you just have to learn by first not pivoting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the exit strategy is so important. And who would have ever thought, though? I mean, things that were tried and true for so many years. Look, think about real estate. I've been an investor for that's been my other thing that I've done since my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what? It all changed in a minute. And I'm glad I got out. I actually did. I had this whole guided feeling like, okay, I'm going to move to a different state and have my main residence there, and I'm doing these other things, and of course I thought I was going to go on a book tour, and that didn't happen. So now I'm doing book tours and virtual tours, and working on the radio and this and that. But it's just so interesting because I listened to my gut.
Yeah.
Versus my mind. And my mind thought, what, are you crazy?
Right.
This is, how would you, but then if you have a mortgage and you have renters and you're not collecting rent, how are you going to pay your mortgage? It's not going to happen. And so that would have been terrible. So maybe it's just listening and knowing when to get out. And I don't know. I just got really lucky.
I'm telling you what it is. That is the truth. I'm telling you, it is, a lot of it has to do with listening to your gut. Now, I have gotten better with that. At that point, I was still second guessing my gut. So I would say, because I'm telling you, it came to me early enough. Oh, you need to get out. My mom and dad moved to California, and they were no longer near where my properties were, because I was not in the same state. Yeah. I was said, you need to get rid of these right now. There were several times when I did not listen, and I just go, I can do it. Oh, I can do it.
Right.
No good.
Yeah. There's something about that. And I don't know if you're not spiritual, if you don't feel it's a guided, intuitive thing, maybe it's just a knowing, because part of our subconscious even is listening to the data, to the news, to things going on, and collecting the information. And there's a knowingness that happens.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it an intuitive thing or a knowing from just that other scientific level of collecting from the subconscious level, when you have something that just doesn't feel right, or it feels like it's time to make it shift, then go with that. That's
right.
Probably the thing. And so did you leave corporate America full-time, and now you're full-time entrepreneur?
Oh gosh, yeah. So what happened? So here's another thing. So after I lost my job back then, after I lost all my properties, and I'm just like licking my wounds and really like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I was doing a little part-time. I was actually being an entrepreneur, but it wasn't working. I was trying to do something I wasn't in. It took me a little bit of I don't know, putting my tail between my legs or something to finally like humble myself to get a job. I did not want to get a job. I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. So finally I did get a job, and I got one that I didn't have to really do a lot of work in, something that I could still do my business. I stayed there until I got my business up and running, and I left my job for good in 2017. And it was a good job. Okay, so it was one of those kind of jobs where they don't come very often, where you just have to sit there and be cute and answer the phone kind of a job, and the phone hardly ever rings kind of a job, and they
Right.
pay for all of your medical. And
Yeah.
it was one of those, like, it's insane that I even have this job. I actually put in my resignation on that kind of a job. And I
Mhm.
finally saw that my business had taken off, and it was the best thing I ever did, because it was a difference between good, and that was a good job, like I said, and a great, amazing entrepreneurship career now that I
Mhm.
have since tripled that amount of money, almost going into quadruple the amount of money that I was making at that good job. And that I was like, could have probably, rotted my brain if I would have just sat there. But yeah, I am now full-time entrepreneur and have since retired my husband as well, which was also a very big goal of mine. So now he's working with me full time, and this is what we do all day. We hang around in our pajama bottoms and and pajamas and slippers, and we
Mhm.
just work.
Yes, and that's so nice, when you love to work together, and I know there's people out there that are like, "Wait a minute, I don't know," 'cause
I know.
there's some people that need that space, and so it
Yeah.
depends on your relationship. I know for myself, I started my businesses when I was really young, so I
Yeah.
opened gift stores at 23, and then I had all my kids, and I had nannies that were actually retired Sunday school teachers that
Mhm.
loved us and lived nearby, and they were bored, and they were like,
Yeah.
please, we, don't pay us much, we just want to be out. And so it was perfect, and I had flex childcare for all the other employees that had babies.
Oh,
And
wow.
so my kids grew up with learning about the business and
Mhm.
how to run a business, and they would help me order things and help me with that kind of thing. And then I brought them to volunteering. I mean, we got into politics. We won't get political here, but
Right.
we like staple papers and do flyers back before we had computer stuff going on, and they heard conversations about everything, and they were with multi-generational people, so they heard the wisdom from like the older generations
Mhm.
about what the living history, and Los Angeles County, so it was very diverse, and they heard all this different history from people, so they care about the past and the future, and it just I think it was a better education than their school. I mean, they learned a lot at school, obviously, but it was
Right.
different. It was a rich education to involve the kids. So now that people are stuck doing that, think about it like that, like a gift of being
Yes.
able to bring that to your children.
Yes, I
Like,
agree. I agree. I mean, there has been some people have had some hard times during COVID, and there's been some hard times during these times. I totally get it. But if your mindset is
mhm,
different than that, like, I think this has been a gift. Like, I'm able to create my lifestyle exactly the way I want.
mhm,
The only thing that I'm not able to do right now, which will happen, is we're not able to travel the way we want, of course. But, my husband and I jumped into a car and drove across the US. We live in LA, and
yeah,
we drove to Ohio
wow,
to see my in-laws, stay there for a couple of months. You couldn't do that if you had a job,
mhm,
or if you weren't in during this time. So yeah, we just love it. I would say that it's helped us to stay very focused too. You don't have anything else to do, might as well build your business.
exactly, it's so true, and I mean, I remember I took the kids out of school for about 5 months, and we
Mhm.
did that same thing, and we stopped off at all these, like, historic sites,
Yeah.
and we would study the history of whatever, and then we ended up at Epcot Center,
Oh,
Disney
very cool.
World, and I said, "And
Wow.
this is the rest of the world," because we couldn't afford to do the rest of the world.
Right.
6 children, 3 I adopted. So, we had 6 kids, you can't go everywhere, but that was a big deal for us, and that was a very memorable year, and they didn't lose. I sent them to summer school and
Yeah.
and
Yep.
just to make sure they didn't lose anything, but they learned more because they got to meet people in different parts of the US, and it's different.
It
each
is.
day is different. It's so different,
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
don't get to know that. I mean, you're in LA, California. That's my hometown too,
Yep.
really, and so that's like a whole different world in and of itself compared to other states.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Even the food changed
Oh, of course.
as we traveled. It
Completely
was like,
changed.
where's the healthy vegetables?
I know. Isn't that funny?
It was like
We were in Ohio. I said, you know what? I noticed there's not a lot of vegetables out here, and there's a lot more salt in their food. I noticed when they make food, it tastes really, really good and rich, but oh my goodness, it's not California, that's for sure.
it's very different. So it was fun, and it's something. So you get to play like that, but you work long hours. And I
Yes.
think this year, if you're listening in and you're struggling this year and you're thinking, how am I going to do this? You can start with a passion. What would you suggest, Tam, for people that just want to start out in a business, maybe a side hustle or something to get some extra money at home? What would you
Yeah. Oh my
suggest?
God. I am the side hustling queen. You have come to the right place. So first, I'm going to first preface this by saying I do have a book called A Woman's Side Hustle, and there's about 250 ideas in that book. Since that book was done, I'm going to redo that book again next year, probably. I have found another 1,000 ideas that I put together for you to do. Okay. So to make it super simple and easy, you got to think about your lifestyle and what you're able to do, what kind of time you have. If you're at home with your kids and you have like a little bit of time, you got to consider all of that. It has to be something you can do around your kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't, when you're doing a side hustle, it depends on if it's going to be a long-term side hustle or a short-term one.
Mhm.
If it's something you want to turn into a business, possibly, then you're going to have some different considerations. Okay. So here's a short-term one that you just need to just make some money. Okay. A lot of these are traditional side hustles, cleaning, anything that has to do with serving others, anything that's going to make someone else's life a little easier. So these are short-term ones. You might not be passionate about these things, right? But for a long time, I did cleaning. Man, I did cleaning. I did organizing. I did watching adults, watching older people. I've done all of those things. They were not my passion, but they did work for a short time. When you start thinking about longer term things, you still want to think about service. Service easy. Like, what can you do that you can help someone else with? So if you have any kind of skill, telephone skills, organizing skills, business skills, hair skills, anything that's that you can do to help someone else out, there's tons of things. I have like different categories of ideas on just service. If you're starting to get into like actual products, okay, if you want to do product stuff, then you're starting to have to think about a little bit higher up. Are you going to drop ship? Are you going to sell on Amazon? Are you going to get on to all these different other platforms to sell? But when you're thinking long term, is you're starting to get into more like what you're passionate about. What do I really like? I like fashion. Oh, okay. Well, let's think. What can you do easily in that realm? So yeah, there's a ton of things. I would say go to Amazon. I do have that book, Women's Side Hustle. There's a ton of ideas that you can think of, or just kind of jog your memory. Like, oh yeah, I could do that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, that's really important. I mean, I know having my little kids in my store, there were times where I would take on even more work because I had some kids that needed more expenses. I had some that were hospitalized a lot as a young baby and then needed speech therapy and all kinds of hearing issues. And it was thousands a month for the
Wow.
bills. I mean, thousands. And I was like, okay, how am I going to come up with this on top of, and it was summer and it's a slow season at the store. And it would be like, okay, so I started doing script work at home. So I would like re-edit and type scripts
Oh yeah.
for the movies and TV. And I learned a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And
There's a lot of stuff like that out there.
I didn't have time to watch TV. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I really I was like getting my entertainment at the same time, and the kids are playing in the next room. And it was a good way to make decent money. So there's so many ways.
There's so many ways.
Yeah.
If you think about, there's some websites like Upwork and Fiverr and all these things. Go on there, look at what people are doing, and then think, oh, I could do that. I could edit. Oh, I could create a YouTube video for somebody. Oh, I can create somebody's simple WordPress thing. If it's something simple enough that you can do, people need it. Service. That's what I mean by service, you know?
Yes. And I think the other thing that I've found to work with a lot of my clients, and it worked with me over the years in a weird way, I volunteered a lot in my community for different political people, nonpartisan. I did a lot with Equal Education for All across the US for like 20 years on a documentary, all these things. I got hired.
Oh, yes. That's a great way.
Now, I was young, and they asked me, what political party are you in? And I said, Free Spirit. I didn't even know the name. I don't care. I have all these kids, and I care about them, and I see there's a difference, a big difference here. Why is there a difference? And so I cared about that. And with that, they hired me. So I ran political campaigns. I got to do like the nonpartisan prayers at big political for governors. And I didn't know, and I knew people and leading people and all that. And I was like, well, you want to pay me to do this? Okay, sure. And it was, I never applied. I never even intended to apply.
This is what people don't understand too, is like the best way to get into something is you got to think about how you can serve. Everything is service, and people are everything. People are, when you think about, oh, I want to get this job, what's behind the job? It's a person. Right. Everything is people. They're the most important thing you want to think about. So if you get a chance to go and work with someone, even for free, you're going to get paid so much more from just being around that person, getting experience that you wouldn't have to pay for. Right. You couldn't go to college to get that kind of education by working with someone. And then you actually might do a good job, and they say, you know what, I want to hire you to be my blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Because it's all about a relationship. They like you, you do a good job, and now they want to pay you $100,000 just do their thing. So yeah, don't underestimate that. That's a really good point.
And there's another thing I love to share with people. I'm like the official spokesperson for the 211. Have you heard of 211?
What is 211?
Okay, this is really good. 60% or more of the people I ask have never heard of 211. If you dial 211 in the United States or Canada, or if you Google 211 in your state, so 211 California, you will get all the resources. So that's if you need a food bank, if you need to get help with rental assistance, if you need mental health help, maybe you lost your health care insurance and you need a gap insurance, you need some kind of help, that's where you can go, including getting job help.
Wow.
So that's something that there's people that have never, ever needed a resource.
Yes.
Two people earning income maybe in the family, and they both lost their job right now, or they got sick or whatever. And so this is really an important thing to get out and to keep in mind. If you're a business owner, just share that on your Zoom meetings. If you still go to work and meet in person, post it. A lot of times people you work with, they don't ask for help, but something might be going on at home. Yes. And maybe you notice, oh, productivity's down, or they're kind of cranky, what's going on? And maybe it's one of those situations where they're stressed. And if they have that information, they can get help. Or if you need help right now, there's nothing wrong with asking for help when you need it. And the sooner you can get that, the sooner you can get back on track.
That's right. I think that is really, really good. And you don't have to be scared to get that help. You know, everyone needs some help sometimes. I also think this is a good time for you to brush up on new skills. You know, if you have a skill that may be becoming outdated, this might be a good time, a blessing in disguise, maybe, for you to brush up on new skills. There are so many free resources for you to learn things. Let's just start with Google it. Okay.
Yeah.
Google it. And then, like, I want to become a blah, blah, blah. Just Google that. The other place is a great place, and I call it YouTube University. You can learn anything on YouTube. So go to YouTube, and whatever you want to learn, you could find it. There's also all of these free courses that are online. If you Google something, and people always have some kind of free or low cost course that they have. I'm trying to think right now, there's another website that has some low cost courses to teach you all kinds of stuff. And if you learn it, let's say something that has to do with digital marketing, you've lost your job. Okay. You can't find another job, but then you go and learn a new skill that could serve someone that you have learned. You just learned, you just learned it. Then you go on to Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, and you offer your services, and you may be offer it for low, just so you can get some practice. Right. And then you start really, now you have a new skill to do something with.
And sometimes, I mean, it's like, obviously a lot of us can learn and do a lot of things as an entrepreneur. There's a point, though, that you can't do everything and use your talent 100%.
That's right.
And so you need to hire help.
Yes.
And when you're able to hire someone that can actually do the job and put in the effort and actually care about the deadlines and this and that, and you will have that job for as long as you want that job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And it's hard to find. I know that I have an incredible personal assistant and some other people I work with that are incredible people. And I refer, she only does part-time with me right now, but I refer her to other people when they need help too, because because I know I can trust that she's going to do the job right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yes. And so that makes a big difference.
So
it really does. Yes. And work with students. I mean, one of the things I did when I had my gift stores, and this was for many years, 23 on, and I ended up buying 5 buildings. And that's how I got into the real estate industry myself, was through the gift store industry. And then I rented the buildings out and got onto the online stores. But with that, it's really one of the things that I did was I worked with kids that were emancipating from foster care. I was a foster care kid. So I was in foster care from 13 to 15 and homeless from 10 to 13. So I wanted to give back to, my extended family, I guess, and to help. People were involved in my getting on my feet. So I wanted to do that. And I had this program. Over 200 kids went through my training program, and it was actually co-funded by the government. It was Job Training Partnership Act at the time. They've changed the name. I don't know the new name, but it was something that helped a lot of young adults that nobody wanted to hire. And once they got a letter of recommendation from me and their training, they were able to get a job at a really big department store, or now a lot of them, I'm still in contact with many of them, and they actually have their own businesses now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, the reason I was so blessed in my business had nothing to do with selling products.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with those kids and how we treated everybody that walked into that store. Everybody that walked in the store was royalty.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't even buy anything, and that was the goal. And so, and that was it. And so it was really so whatever you do, when you make it hard work.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
And somehow it comes back, and people feel it.
Yeah. I think I end up working with a lot of heart center entrepreneurs. And I think that if you really go into business, so I think this is how I think about business. I think business is really an act of service. Okay. I think that you have a skill, and the other person, your potential client, doesn't have a skill. They may have a pain or a need, right? And so you who have this skill is kind of obligated. This is how I think, kind of obligated to help that person who is in pain, who is in need, right? And so I think if you think about business like that, as opposed to an exchange of dollars, I don't think about it like that at all.
Exactly.
You will really benefit, because then every time you're doing something, you're like, man, I'm changing someone's life. I'm helping someone out. I'm making their life better, so I think that's a really good way to look at business.
Yes. And it's just whatever you do, people will see you.
They will see it too. They will see it.
Yes. And the kids, I mean, it changed their life, but they were my teachers.
Oh,
as
yeah.
much. Yes. And so I learned so much from them. And it's really important. I mean, like my daughter, she's studying psychology. She works at a group home for moms of pregnant moms and their babies. And she's 24, but
Yeah.
where did she get that from?
And watching you, of course.
And she's really good at it,
Yeah.
and she looks so sweet and nice, but she's good with that. And it's just interesting how that happens. And so you're modeling, if you are a parent listening in, it's not what we say,
Right.
it's what we
do. It's so true. So true.
Yeah. So I would love to learn now, how can people get a hold of your books? I mean, these books sound incredible, and maybe join some of your programs.
Yes. Well, first you can go to my website. My personal website is TAMRLUC .com, TAMRLUC.com, tamirluc.com. And you can find a lot about what I do, and I help people to monetize their message, and I help people to get clear on their message. I have a unique book message strategy. And one of the programs I'm doing is this anthology called Women Who Boss Up. So it started off as one book. We are now in the 5th book, and that all happened this year, 2020. So women who boss up in life, health, and business, women who boss up in health, wellness, and lifestyle, Asian women who boss up, women of color who boss up, moms who boss up, and we're working on a bunch more. Oh. So that is really to help women to use this book, use this idea of being in a book. We will get the #1 bestseller on Amazon. But I'm also showing you how to use a project to get exposure for your business. Okay, how to actually use it to grow your business, how to get leads for your business, how to get clients for your business, how to be more known and more credible. All that's wrapped up in this program. So I would love to, connect with you, especially if you're a mom who bossed up, you are now taking care of your family, and you're also doing a business. I would love to talk to you. Or a woman of color who bosses up. Those are 2 of the ones I'm really working on right this moment.
All right. Well, thank you again, Tam. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. And when that next book comes out, I'd love to have you back to share more about the next one.
I would.
All right, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages. All right.